Welcome, one and all, to the Viper's Nest, where today I deliver on the promise I promised last week, which was where I said I would talk a bit about the Berserker Teams from the Aliens franchise. But obviously I didn't, so now I'm doing it this week. Sorry about that. Life happens, whatever. So, let's dive right into it. Question: who, what, why are the Berserker Teams? Well, let's start with the why, because the why is actually the question we have the least amount of concrete information on, because the Berserker Teams have not appeared in the Aliens franchise overall, except I think outside of like 2 comics and a novel, which is a real shame because they're actually really fucking cool. So, why were the Berserker Teams formed? Well, I will tell you. After Ellen Ripley was recovered from, well, no, she died. I keep forgetting Aliens 3 is the thing. My bad. Point. Let's try that again. So, after the whole incident with not the Nostromo, English. This is off to a great fucking start. After the Sulaco went to LV-426, all the Colonial Marines died, and then eventually, Ripley, Hicks, Bishop, and Newt all escaped from the alien queen. Once the Sulaco was recovered, and not the Sulaco itself, because I'm pretty sure it was destroyed, but the black box, the flight data recorder, or something like that, whatever it was kept all the information on the ship. Eventually, it was recovered. They reviewed the data, and they saw Ripley fighting off the Xenomorph Queen with the power loader. And somebody thought to themselves, weaponized power loader. That's a pretty fucking good idea. We should do that. So eventually, the call to create these weaponized power loaders, which eventually will become called the Berserker suits, went to the Colonial Marines, the United Marines, I think. At least I'm pretty sure. Let me fact check myself. Yeah, first the call went to the Colonial Marines, everyone was like, hey, we want you guys to invent these things. So the Marines are like, all right, we'll give it our best shot. So they made some attempts, and those attempts didn't go too well. The suits themselves were a little bit too big, too clunky, too hard to maneuver in the close combat environments that the Colonial Marines would normally find themselves in combat against the Xenomorphs. So eventually they brought on another guy. I believe his name was Spencer Linden. Again, let me fact check myself real quick. Yeah, Spencer Linden from Hyperdyne Systems. And he had a thought. He's like, well, yeah, I mean, weaponized power loaders. It's a pretty good idea. But the problem here seems to be the human element. So instead of just having a guy piloting a suit, what if we instead permanently install a guy in the suit and have him essentially function as a biological brain to this mechanical body? And that is where the Berserkers came to be. So the Berserker teams as a whole tend to be about anywhere from 3 to 6 people, if I remember correctly. You've got the Berserker itself, which we'll get to it a little bit later on. You've got the Point Man, a.k.a. the Bait. Then you have the 2 other armed normal guys who follow a respectful distance behind the Berserker when he's activated. You have the Mechanic, the captain of the ship that the Berserker team is on, and the captain's first mate. The captain and the first mate don't normally go into combat, neither does the Mechanic for the suit. It's just the Berserker, the Point Man, and the 2 guards. So in the novel that I was introduced to, you had... You know what? That doesn't matter. I'm not going to talk about the events of the novel. You should go read it for yourself because it's a really good novel. I'm talking specifically about the team. So, the way the Berserker team operates is the Point Man, aka the Bait, dons a special suit that protects him from claws, acid burns, and specifically a face mask which shields him from facehuggers. He will walk into a hive and willingly surrender himself to the Xenomorphs, and then they will take him and bring him to the egg chamber, which is normally where the queen is doing her thing, making eggs. He will then activate a homing beacon, which transmits specifically to the Berserker, They wake up the Berserker, let him loose, and the Berserker just goes and murders everything between himself and the beacon, with the two other guards following, again, a very respectful distance behind the Berserker itself. So, that's essentially, that's the teams right there. So let's talk about the real interesting bit, the Berserker itself. So, here you go, here's a picture. So the Berserker has a lot of similarities to the Dreadnoughts from the Warhammer 40k universe, in that the Berserker suit functions as both a heavily armed and armored walking tank and also a life support system. So the public believes that only the most antisocial people imaginable volunteer to be installed within a Berserker suit. That is a lie. They take, like, psychotic criminals and stuff them in there. Most Berserker teams on a whole are actually formed of criminals, and they get X amount of years knocked off their sentence with every successful mission they complete. Because, well, being part of a Berserker team is obviously very dangerous, and Weyland-Yutani, who eventually picked up the Berserker suit designs and started producing them themselves, I mean, they don't give a fuck if criminals die. Who cares? They're just criminals. They're easily replaceable. So, it's pretty much confirmed that people in the Berserker suit are not there by choice. That's where they start differing heavily from the Dreadnoughts of 40k, where usually the Space Marine in question who gets wounded enough to be put in a Dreadnought is given a choice. Do you want to be in the Dreadnought, or do you want to just get mercy killed and, end it right then and there? So, normally, the person inside the Berserker suit is kept in a medically induced coma, and they are essentially wired into the suit like Matrix style. Like, they got a plug in the back of their head that allows their brain to connect directly to the systems of the Berserker suit. They still have to, like, move a little bit with their arms and legs, but mostly it's that biomechanical interface that handles a lot of the functions of the Berserker suit, like targeting, firing the weapons, keeping track of targets, knowing where the transmitter to go to is, all that kind of stuff. And and that the person inside really only has to move their arms and legs to pilot the suit, like, at the absolute bare minimum. So normally, like I said, the person inside the suit is kept in a medically induced coma until it is time for them to go into a hive to go find the guy with the transmitter, in which case they are shot up with what is supposedly a very, very heaping helping of synthetic adrenaline. Now, I'm not entirely sure I believe this, because, Weyland-Yutani already lies about, like, yeah, no, the person inside the suit totally wants to be in the suit. Of course they want to be in there. Yeah, that, the moose juice, as they called it in the comics, which you can see on the screen right there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's, like, some, PCP, maybe some meth, like space meth mixed in there. Anyway, the point is, once the Berserker suit is deployed, then the person inside essentially is brought from medically induced coma to absolute killing frenzy, which is where the name Berserker comes from. And then they go fucking nuts and kill anything and everything between themselves and the point man, the bait. And the Berserker suit it's capable of taking on entire hives by itself. It's extremely heavily armored, acid resistant. It packs weapons like Gatling guns, flamethrowers. Some of them have, like, thermal beams that they can shoot from their eye visors. The thing carries just an absolutely insane amount of weapons. Plus, it's essentially it's mechanized power armor. So if somehow the Berserker runs out of ammunition, they are more than capable of just beating xenomorphs to death with their hands and feet, essentially. They command an insane amount of power and firepower. Very fucking cool. And I think that really about brings it to the end. Like I said, there's not terribly much information we have on the Berserker units outside of that one novel and 2 comics, which is honestly a real shame because they're very cool. I would love it if somehow Berserker teams found their way into something like Alien's Fire Team. I don't think it would be necessarily feasible for us to actually be able to play as someone in a Berserker suit, but there could be a game mode where, I don't know, escorting a Berserker suit doesn't make a whole lot of sense because the Berserker would just kill all the Xenomorphs on the screen. I don't know. Maybe some kind of take and hold action where you gotta, like, find supplies to help wake up the Berserker and then have, like, a wave or two where you get to fight alongside it, where you get to watch it just mercilessly mow down waves upon waves of Xenomorphs. That'd be pretty cool. I'd dig it. I'd pay for it. I'd pay $5 for that. Yeah. But if you're interested in the Berserker units, the novel I was referring to is Aliens Berserker by S.D. Perry, and the comics it was based upon was called Aliens Frenzy, and then there was one other one where they briefly introduced a prototype Berserker suit. Yeah, that was the MOX-16 Berserker suit, which stood for Mobile Offensive Exo Warrior. That was when the Colonial Marines were still trying to make the Berserker suits, and when Wayland Yutani picked them up, they started calling them the MAX, or MAX, which stood for Mobile Assault Exo Warrior. Yeah, like I said, Aliens Berserker by S.D. Perry, Aliens Frenzy by whoever made that comics. I know you can find the novel easily enough online. I don't know about the comics, but it's probably on something like Comixology. I recommend it. Give it a read. Very, very cool storyline about this very small group of people dealing with this absolutely massive Xenomorph hive. Pretty freaking awesome. Anyway, yeah, that is about it for Aliens Berserker Teams. If you enjoyed, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe. You don't have to. Won't hold it against you. Yeah, I'll try to kick out another few videos this week. Don't hold your breath, though, because, like I said, life happens. Thank you for tuning in and listening, and see you next episode. As always, have yourself a wonderful day.